I'm Jonathan. If I haven't had the chance to meet you, it's always so good to be together. I was just telling Natalie, it's like, man, I had fun in worship. It's just fun to be together, fun to be worshiping. And I'm excited to continue our series that we started last week called Made to Meet with God. Made to meet with God. And if you were with us last week, you heard me introduce 5 different ways that we were made to meet with God. So 5 different ways. We have these 5 circles, five ways that we are made to meet with Him. A personal devotional life, then life on life discipleship. That's you and first it's you and God, right? Then it's you and a couple of others, life on life discipleship. Then house to house. What do we call those? Life groups, right? And then a church gathered. You made it. You're here. Okay, this is what it's all about. And then witnesses into the world. So we come together so that we can be sent out and we meet with God as He sends us. And so, what's interesting is that I was not aware of this growing up. I was not aware of all these ways. Biblical ways that I could meet with God. Actually, if I could sum up my growing up in God with one, it was actually just this 4th one. If I could sum up what it looked like for me growing up to meet with God, it would just be the simple phrase, go to church. Go to church, right? Anybody with me, right? You go to church. Sundays were basically the way, as far as I knew, that I could get to know God, that I could meet with God. Maybe you could think that Sunday was kind of like the gas station, right? Sunday was the day that you go and you fill up. You sing some songs, you try your best to stay awake during the sermon, you daydream about lunch, and then, did it hit close to home? Daydreaming already? She was already daydreaming. And then you leave, right? Like you go to church, you try to make it, then you leave. And since church on Sunday was your one check-in with God, right? Basically, you got to make that last the rest of the week, right? So maybe you start the week strong, but by Wednesday, let's face it, you're getting a little grouchy. By Thursday, you're over it. Friday rolls around and you're looking at your watch like it's got to be 5 o'clock somewhere, right? By Saturday, you're at the club. Thank you for that applause. Right? By the weekend, you're coasting in on fumes. You're pushing that car into Sunday morning, where you come on Sunday morning, you got to rinse off, right? And you got to fill back up, and you got to try to slug it out for another week. Anyone with me? Notice it got really quiet. You see, for too long, we have seen Sunday church as kind of our one-stop shop. And that can become really dangerous because sometimes we have a hard time making it to church on Sundays. But pat your back, you're here, way to go. You see, part of the purpose of these talks is to tell you that God's heart for you isn't just church on Sundays. Actually, church on Sunday is supposed to be the result of the celebration of you meeting with God throughout the week. Of you meeting with Him on your own. Of you meeting in your life groups. Of walking in close discipleship relationships with a couple of others. Right? And what we started talking about last week is that it starts with you. Right where you are, meeting with the living God. Can I just tell you that today? That the living God of the universe, made you in His image. You were created on purpose, for a purpose. And can I tell you what that purpose is? It's first and foremost to know God. You see, it's only when we know God, when we meet with Him, that we get to discover what our purpose is. That is why it's so important that you and I know that we were first made for a relationship with God. That's what we talked about last week, that God is inviting us to the secret place. Matthew 6, you can read that. Jesus talks about a secret place that only you and him know about. It's a place of devotion and a place of sacrifice. It's a place of seeking him first. And last week we were challenged by the words of Jesus. And just to give the quick summary, we talked about the fact that Jesus has an expectation that we will spend time with him. Number 2, that we have to learn to focus on him in the secret place. That means that we have to learn to clear out the distractions. That's why Jesus said, you go into a room and you close the door. You shut it all out. We make a plan. And then number 3, that our relationship with God is our responsibility. It's not my wife's responsibility. It's not my abuelita's responsibility. It is my responsibility. We have to stop blaming others and making excuses. And we have to decide if we are going to seek him or not. This past week, I continued to think about what it means to create that secret place with God. And as I did, I kept thinking about how many ways that idea ties in with marriage. And so today we're actually going to be talking a lot about marriage, and we're going to be talking about how our relationship with God is actually a lot like marriage. And I'm going to show you that in a couple seconds. And let me just say, I know that so many people here have experienced pain as it relates to marriage. Maybe you're going through it right now in your own marriage. Can I just tell you, we are here for you. We want to walk with you. We want to pray for you. And as always, we also want to look at God's standard. We always want to look at his template for marriage. We want to be called up to it. Sometimes we are just down here and we're just getting beat down by life and the circumstances and the little fights. And it's like we have to look up. And we have to look and see the template that God has given us. So that's what we're going to do together. Ephesians 5, if you have your Bible. Ephesians 5. Probably one of the most well-known passages on marriage. Ephesians 5, verse 22. Says this. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church, without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In this same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated their own body, but they feed and care for their body, just as Christ does the church. For we are members of his body. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is a profound mystery, but I am talking about Christ and the church. Okay, so this is interesting. Paul here in Ephesians 5, he's giving us a clinic on Christian marriage. He's like, wives, submit to your husbands in the same way you do to the Lord. Guys, lay down your wives, love your wives, and lay down your life for your wife. So track with me. If you want to know what a healthy marriage looks like, it's all about serving. It's not looking to your own interests, but the interests of your spouse. And if you can both do that, then you will set a culture of humility and grace and serving in your home. It's the same reason why pride breaks apart marriages. So again, Paul's giving this master class on marriage. But notice, he keeps tying it all back to Christ and the church. Right? Like as you read this about marriage, you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of random. He just keeps kind of throwing that in, right? You're like, maybe at first you're like, I thought we were talking about marriage, like a man and a woman. But watch this. We can't miss the big finish here, as Paul says in verse 31. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Then watch this. This is a profound mystery, but I am talking about Christ and the church. You're like, now what? Paul's kind of like, hey, you thought I was talking about earthly marriage, which he was, by the way. But then he says, but you need to know that I'm really talking about Jesus and the church. Now, who's the church? I see a few hands raised. You're right. It's you. You are the church. I want you to see this. He's like, you just think I'm talking about you and your spouse. No, it's bigger than that. I'm actually talking about you and Jesus. I want you to see this because Paul says, as he says this, he's not only laying out foundational marriage principles, but he's also laying out what it looks like to be in relationship with Jesus. He's saying if you want to know how to think about your relationship with Jesus, you need to think of a marriage. He says, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. There's three things happening here. Again, he's talking about you and Jesus. We see it here. We see priority, commitment, and intimacy. Priority, commitment, and intimacy. If you're in relationship with Jesus, and if that relationship is going to work, these pillars have to be in place. If you want to know what a healthy marriage looks like, you need to have priority and commitment and intimacy. I've been thinking a lot about marriage lately as Suzanne and I celebrate our 20th anniversary in April. And I think we have a picture. Do we have a picture, Sylvia? Always have to show this just to remind you what those young jovenasos look like. That's John David. Is that what you said? That's funny. Actually, I'm looking at Kendall and Shelley. Kendall and Shelley have been our closest friends for so long. They got married 2 weeks before we did. So they're about to celebrate their 20th. And I'd love to see your picture, guys, actually. Let's put that up next time. So, I've been reflecting and thinking about getting married. I think about the fact that we dated for 8 months, and then we got engaged and got married 4 months later. It seems fast now. And I think about going on this adventure together and moving away from our families and leaving our jobs and setting out and moving to San Diego with Anna, who was 2 months old at the time. Going through the storms of transition and frequent travel, of moving to Mexico with our 4 little kids when our youngest was 1 year old. That feels crazier now. I think about how trials and adversity have made us grow together. I think about the times that we have held each other in our arms as we've cried in desperation. I think of the things that we share that are only between me and her. I'm so proud of my wife. She laid down everything to follow God and to follow me. She's working in the baby's room, so I can't imagine loving her more, and although I'm sure I will in the years that come. But again, here's my point. That same love and sacrifice and intimacy between a husband and wife is just a mirror of, it's a reflection of God's heart and his desire for his relationship with you. Again, there's 3 things that we see. Number one, we see priority. Verse 31 is what it says. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother. God's like, this marriage, he's like looking at you like Richard, if this is going to work, right? Richard's scared. If this is going to work, you have to leave everything and everyone else behind. Like, right? When you get married, you leave your ex behind. You delete the number. You're not still chatting with the ladies. Thank you. It got very quiet. You don't have girls that are friends anymore. No, you block them on Facebook, right? All the wife said. All the men said. Yeah, stronger amen. Right? There's no more running around downtown at 2 a.m. There's no more playing the field. Why? Because you're in love. And that person is worth every sacrifice. You see, priority means sacrifice. Priority means sacrifice. So that means if you're going to meet with God, if your relationship with Him is the priority of your life, it means you can't live like you used to. If you're committed to God, you can't go around like you're a bachelor. If you're married to Jesus, you can't run around like you're single and ready to mingle. No, when Jesus is my priority, it means I don't talk like I used to. Because I want to bless Jesus. I don't waste my time anymore because I want to be with Him. It means I got to go to bed early because I got a date in the morning with Jesus. And then you see number two, our priority feeds into our commitment. It says, and be united. Okay, it's kind of confusing. But our priority feeds into our commitment. And then the passage goes on, and it says, and be united to his wife. So imagine with me for a second, you saw those sweet young kids getting married 20 years ago. Imagine if on April 22nd, 2006, I got married to Suzanne. We went on our honeymoon, came back to our new home together. And then imagine that the reality of life hit, which it did, by the way. Bills became due, money's low. We slowly start moving out of the honeymoon season. And just imagine if I just kind of lost the feeling. I lost the love and feeling. And imagine if I just picked up and moved out and left Suzanne and the house and the bills all in my past. Now, that may sound ridiculous, but that's what too many of us do in our relationship with Jesus. Oh, we fall in love. We go to a conference, we come to church, we get that ooey gooey, warm and fuzzy feeling, right? I used to, and people in Tijuana would be like, look, I got the piel de gallina. Look, I got the, right? We love the feeling. We may even pray a prayer. We might raise our hand. We might even cry. We may jump into the church or life group. We may start serving. But too many times, and I've seen it too many times, we sort of lose the feeling. And we give up on Jesus and we go looking for someone or something else. But how many of us know that when you're committed to someone, it's about more than a feeling? You make sacrifices. You discipline yourself. I think I've learned over the last 20 years the things that bless Suzanne and the things that don't. I know that me helping around the house means more to her than me just saying, I love you. She's like, prove it, buddy. Right? You see, when Jesus is thinking of union with you, he is thinking this is for life. Which means that just like in a marriage, you gotta figure it out. You can't let the relationship get stagnant. You have to change things up. You have to grow up. It's not about you anymore. Paul said this just a few verses earlier in Ephesians 5, just before the marriage passage. It's a little Easter egg here. It's a little pro tip. And he says this, verse 5:10, and find out what pleases the Lord. And find out what pleases the Lord. Again, we know what pleases him. We talked about that last week. But I want you to see, and he's trying to tell us, hey, there's this relationship here that we're called to of walking with Jesus, of talking with him, of seeing what blesses him. Like, this is amazing. This is awesome. I hope you're seeing that knowing Jesus is not just this stale thing where we sit in the pews and we repeat some words and we just try to stay awake for the sermon. No, there's more to Jesus than you think. Maybe you've been walking with Jesus for a long time. Can I tell you, there is always more. There's always more of Jesus. Because at the end of the day, that priority, that leaving everything else behind, that commitment, learning to walk with him, what does it do? It produces intimacy with Jesus. Produce intimacy with Jesus. And it says this, and the two will become one flesh. The two will become one flesh. I remember preaching about intimacy with Jesus one Sunday in our church in Tijuana, and I had a man in our church who was a friend of mine, and he came up to me, and he came to give me some feedback. People were always giving me feedback on my Spanish. It's like, oh, by the way, when you said this, you sound kind of weird, whatever. And he told me, he said, hey, when you say intimacy with Jesus, it sounds really weird. He's like, maybe you mean to say like relationship or friendship, because of course intimacy is just a little too intimate. And I get it, but I told him, I just have to go back to the text. There's something that Paul's trying to tell us. He says the two will become one flesh, and then he says, and remember, I'm talking about Christ and the church. Now what he's saying is this. He's saying that the intimacy of a husband and wife is meant to point us toward an even deeper intimacy. A life-giving, faithful, self-sacrificing union with Jesus. Jesus said it this way in John 15. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine. You are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Yours and my greatest place of life is connected, one with Jesus. Can I just tell you, that's what God has for you. That's his desire for you. I now with nearly 20 years under our belt, I think of the different ways Suzanne and I have stayed connected. First, so this is some pro tips with God and marriage. First, we talk. Most every day, we are intentional to have a conversation where we put the phones aside and we're actually looking into each other's eyes. I've had times where Suzanne's kind of like, looking at her phone or whatever, and I'm like, hey, I'm having intentional conversation with you. She's like, oh, I didn't know. She's like, okay, right? Like this is that moment. We're having a moment right now, right? You got to have a moment every day with your spouse if you want to stay healthy. We talk. I don't know any relationship that can flourish without talking. Are you talking to God? Are you spending time with him? That's what we talked about last week. Next, we are intentional. One of the ways we do this is quite literally, we have an administrative meeting. Every week we have 4 kids, 4 different sports, 4 different calendars, 4 different things happening, not to mention our own calendars. So we're sitting down and we're talking through things. We have a family shared calendar, and we're talking about who's doing dinner, who's picking up the kids, right? So we're making a plan. Do you have a plan for being connected to God? When is it going to happen? If you're going to seek Him in the morning, what time are you going to bed? What time are you going to wake up? Anyone that has ever been in a relationship can tell you that nothing just happens. Right? Nothing just happens in a relationship. Actually, if anything just happens, we drift. Drifting is the only thing that just happens. Unless you are intentional in marriage, you're going to drift. So imagine what that means in your relationship with God. But you want to know one of my favorite things about calendaring is that we plan when we're going to have date night. Because going out to eat is our shared love language. Feel free to invite us anytime. So I want to end today, because I want to give us a big takeaway. I have one big takeaway for you today. And in this takeaway, actually, is where priority and commitment and intimacy all come together. Because believe it or not, date night actually has a direct connection to our relationship with God. And it's actually more like a date day. And God calls it Sabbath. Trust me when I say this is a whole teaching on its own. But I want to close by giving us a framework for Christian Sabbath. You see, when Jesus came to earth, he changed everything. Jesus changed everything. Because up to that point, Sabbath was a rule. It was a rule of rest that had to be kept. And it's still kept today by millions of Jewish people. And it's basically become a list of rules of what you can or can't do. But Jesus came and he said, guys, you're missing the point. He said this in Mark 2. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. Now keep in mind that Jesus didn't abolish the Sabbath. He didn't say, enough of this resting, just work. No, he just said Sabbath isn't a rule. Sabbath is about connecting with him. Just like a date night, right? We don't do it because we have to. No, we do it because we want to be together. For the Jewish people, they celebrate Sabbath on Saturday, from Friday night to Saturday night. But when Jesus came, again, he redefined everything. What day was Jesus resurrected on? What day was he resurrected on? A Sunday. Right? So Sunday actually became known as the Lord's Day, which is the day that Christians everywhere celebrate the Sabbath. It's why we have church on Sundays. Did you know that? It's a day of believers coming together and worship and breaking bread. Like, I hope you're seeing this. You just thought you came to a church service, but actually you're on a date day with God. Today for many is a day of Sabbath. It's rest and worship and connection. But again, it's not a rule. Because maybe sometimes you have to work on a Sunday. Or maybe you have things that come up that prevent you from resting. Then we find another day that we can set aside for rest. You say, well, what do I do? Am I just supposed to do nothing? Am I just supposed to take a nap or walk around my living room? Doesn't sound very fun. What do I do on a Sabbath? Well, you do what brings you rest and life with Jesus. You do what brings you rest and life with Jesus. I'll often spend time reading, or I'll take a long walk. Sometimes I'll go out to lunch. Sometimes I'll go see a movie by myself. You stop working. You get off your phone. Can I just give you a tip that will change your life? not only for your Sabbath, but for every day of your life, turn off your phone notifications. You don't need a little bling, bling, bling every time someone gives you a like or takes a whatever of your thing. I don't even know what I'm saying, right? You don't need to know. You really don't need to know. Nothing eliminates your peace like getting notifications 50 times a day. You get to decide when you engage with your phone. Right? So we disconnect. We disconnect. We get off the phone. We disconnect so that we can connect with God and nature. And we do things that bring us life. We slow down and we give it a rest. Can I? So maybe on some weeks your Sabbath is a Sunday. Maybe it's a Saturday, or maybe it's 2 half days. I get that life is crazy. But just like date nights don't just happen, neither does the Sabbath day. So just like a date night, you have to make a plan for when you're going to disconnect and rest. You communicate with those close to you. And then you guard that time. Right? If my wife and I are going out on Thursday night, someone says, hey, you want to go watch the game? What do I say? No. Actually, this is what I say. I'm about to tell you what I say. Because if you do this, you're going to have to protect your time. I mostly take Fridays to Sabbath. And of course, that's the day, of course, that I get the invitation. That's the day that someone says, hey, let's go do this. Or, hey, I need you to be involved in this thing. And I shouldn't tell you this, but this is what you need to learn to say. Just the same way as you would say when you're about to have a date night with your spouse. You say, I have a commitment. Someone says, hey, I need you to do this thing on Friday. You know what did I say? I said, oh, I'm so sorry, I have a commitment. And the crazy thing is when you say that, they're like, oh, okay, he's got something, right? And actually, I'm not lying, right? Because my commitment is with the Lord. Won't you say that with me today? I have a commitment. I have a commitment. I believe that the Sabbath is a day built into our weeks that we remind ourselves that we are not God and we let God be God. Can I tell you that 99% of the things that come up can wait? Because again, God is waiting and wanting to meet with you. Amen. Let's stand. Priority, commitment, intimacy. I wonder which one of those the Holy Spirit might be highlighting for you. Is there any way that your relationship with Jesus has become number 2 or 3? Are there any ways that you haven't been living a life committed to Him? Are you neglecting that secret place, that place of intimacy and connection with Him? Jesus, we ask today that you would speak to our hearts. Speak to our hearts the things that you're wanting to speak to us, perhaps the steps that we need to take. Just as we're all focused on the Lord, you know, the mature response after any biblical teaching, after any time that we receive a message, the mature response is to say, now God, how do I respond? We say, Holy Spirit, is there anything that you're highlighting for me today? Where do I need to repent? Where do I need to confess? What step of obedience do I need to take today? So I want to invite you just right now, just to process with the Lord, just to talk with the Lord. Say, Lord, what are you speaking for me? What are you highlighting during this message? What is a step that I need to take?